to start out by watching a movie about the Pony Express. Can everybody see the movie okay?
Yes!
Okay.
Actually, no, I can't.
That's exactly the problem faced by the United States in the 1800s. Most people lived on the east side of the country back then, but the gold rush suddenly made California the place to be. Thousands moved across the country to find their fortune, and communication from east to west suddenly became very important. There was just one problem. The Wild West was in between. With no phones, no planes, not even a telegraph line. It could take weeks or even months to get a message to family and friends across the country. But in 1860, three businessmen came up with an idea to send messages across the country much faster. A lone rider on a lightweight horse. They mapped a super short route to the west, but it was still 1,900 miles long and very dangerous. So, the riders changed ponies along the way to keep up the fast pace and delivered messages in an incredible 10 days. The country was connected at last. Even though the Pony Express was not a financial success, it was an important innovation in communication. It holds a special place in America's heart, and the Doodle team wanted to celebrate its accomplishments. So, instead of a slide illustration.
Okay, so now that we've watched the video, we have some questions that we're going to think about, okay? So if you have a response, just raise your hand and we'll call on you. I'm sure we can see. So who knows why the Pony Express was so important? Matthew?
Because it finally connected both sides of the country together and enabled further developments in communication.
Why was that important? Why did it matter that the countries were connected, or the other separate sides of the country?
Well, it matters on a human level. People want to be able to stay in close contact with their loved ones. It matters on a practical financial level. It's how people were able to transfer money and other goods, from one side of the country to another. It matters on a political level. You can't have a unified country that can't stay in contact with each other.
Those are good points. Did everybody hear what Matt said?
Yes!
Yes? Okay. So how did the riders find their way across the country? Tristan?
Because both the countries were connected.
Yeah, how did they know where they were going though? Did they just hop on the horse and take off?
Yeah, they would just hop on this horse and take off to California.
Yep. Austin, do you know how they got to California? How they knew how to get there?
They had maps.
They had maps, that's right. Okay, so here is an example of the map that they used, okay? So this is the United States, and this was in the 1800s, so it looks a little bit different than it does today, right?
Right.
Not all the states are there, so there's really only the East Coast where all the people lived, and then out here in California was where the gold, and they wanted to get to the gold. So they started here in St. Louis, and they took this trail called the Pony Express Trail, and they went all the way to California, okay?
Yeah,
So
but they didn't find gold.
sometimes they did, yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the ponies didn't.
That's right. Okay, so,
Because one of them got all the gold.
yeah, that's a good point, okay? So what would happen if I asked you to come pick me up from work tomorrow? What would you ask me?
From the United States to
Up a map.
California. Yeah.
Michael?
I'd probably have to ask you, how do I get to your work?
So you mean you don't already know how to get there?
No, I've never been there
Anywhere?
before, so I guess I would need a map.
Okay, so here's an example of a map that I drew of where I live and how I get to work so that I could give this to Mike for him to come pick me up at work tomorrow. Okay, so if you look here, I start here at home and I've marked my path of how I get to work. Okay, and you see here this is called a key. And this is important because it tells you what direction you need to travel in. Okay, so if you see my map, I travel along this way, I go over a bridge, I turn right, I drive past a school, I drive past a park, I turn again and I see a hospital, and then I get to my work. Do you think, Mike, if I were to show you this map, you would know how to come pick me up from my house?
Yeah, it would be easy to follow. I probably need to carry it with me.
But watch, I know a shortcut.
Yep, and sometimes you can find
That's
different
a
paths
shortcut.
on maps.
Yeah.
That's good, huh?
You
Okay.
need to go over the bridge, then that way, then up there, then that way again.
There's lots of different ways. So
That's
this
a
map
shortcut.
just shows the way that I take. And maybe you could take different ways too. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do an activity where everybody's gonna have a piece of paper and we have these crayons and markers and you're gonna draw a map of how you get to school or how you get to work every day, okay? Do you know how you get to school?
Yeah.
Do you? Do you know the way?
Yeah. Yeah. I go east, then I go south,
Good.
then I
So you can put that on the map.
go
That's great, okay?
go.
So what you're gonna
east,
do,
and then
you know all the directions.
then I keep going east, then I go south, then I go east again,
Great.
then I turn south, then I go east again. That's how I get to my school.
That's
And
great. I can't wait to
And
see
I'm gonna
that.
show you how I go.
Okay, you're gonna draw it on the map for me. Okay?
And then I'm gonna show you.
Yes.
And I'm gonna
So-
show you the arrow that I go.
Yep, make sure you raise your hand if you have a comment, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start out with your house and then you're gonna end up with school or work, wherever you wanna go, okay? And so you wanna just draw little pictures of things that you pass. So maybe you pass some horses, maybe you pass a church or a fire department, whatever you pass, and then you're just gonna show us the path that you take to get there, okay? Does that make
Yeah.
sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Tristan?
But I'm gonna draw the arrows of every street.
Yeah, and you make sure that you make it really simple and
Yeah.
not too complicated, because if you're going to show this to someone, they need to know how to get where they're going, okay? Okay, are you ready?
Ready?
Okay. Okay, so now that we have everybody's maps up here, we can see just the different paths that everybody takes to school or to work. And so, after class, everybody take your map home and share it with a friend or someone in your family and see if they can understand your map and see if they know how to get to the destination, okay? And you might find that somebody doesn't understand it, so you might have to make a couple changes or modifications, but that's why it's important to practice and write it down, okay? So let's summarize everything that we've learned today about geography, okay? So first we watched the video on the Pony Express. What do we remember from that? Or what's something that you learned from the video? Michael?
We learned that because the country was so big and separated the East Coast from the West Coast, that there was a lot of difficulty in communicating or having people know what was going on both sides of the country. So some businessmen invented the Pony Express to try and bridge that gap, so they could get letters to people, and so businesses could know what was going on, and so our political leaders could know what was going on both sides of the country.
That's great. Does anyone else have anything to add? Ginger?
Pony Express was also important because it
I
was
forgot
dangerous
to add
for
one
them
thing.
initially to go across the country because they didn't know how to get there safely. So once somebody had already made it across, that way they had a way of showing other people this is how we can do it in a safe way. So that people didn't continue to die and
Get lost.
get lost.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so after we've drawn all these maps, who can tell me why it's important that we make maps and write directions down? Austin?
Because it's very important to get somewhere where you need to go.
Yeah. Tristan, did you have something you wanted to add?
Austin said it.
We said it, okay. Yeah, so if we didn't have these things written down, we would never know where we're going. So
I added the key so I could know where I was going.
that's great, yep, and that's why we need to have the map key that tells you which directions that you're going in.
Yeah, but I didn't add the map key because I already knew it.
Oh, okay, so maybe you can add a map key when you get home for
No.
someone else who doesn't know the directions as well as you.
No, I'm just gonna tell them how I get there.
Okay. All right, that's
Yeah, and
great.
if they want to get to your work and work with you, then you can tell them where to go. No, I'm just gonna. No, I don't even go work. But if I want to race, if I want to race in that boat later, I have to go put it in docks.
Great. Those are great comments, okay? Thank you all for participating today.